Good evening, I'm Magda Gebre-Selassie. New cases and new efforts to control the spread of COVID-19. Today, Ontario announced 24 new confirmed cases, bringing the total to 103. Canadians abroad are being urged to come home while they can by the federal government. And here in Toronto, it is the first day of closures for city facilities. And joining us live to dig into all of this is Kelda Ewan. And you're outside one of the attractions that is still open today.
Magda, that's right. I'm right outside Ripley's Aquarium, which is still open, but many places across the city are closed. The city announced yesterday closing all licensed childcare centers, pools, fitness centers, community and recreation centers, libraries. All those are closed beginning today until April 5th. And some major Toronto attractions have also decided to close. This includes the Ontario Science Centre, the CN Tower, which is right here behind me as well as the ROM and the Metro Zoo. Now, despite all these closures, I was out for much of the day and there were quite a number, many people actually, out and about looking for things to do and places to go. Now, Ripley's right here. They tell me that they are limiting ticket sales and they are monitoring the situation, but they have no plans to close. And this is where my day began earlier.
We call and we're like, you're open?
For many tourists and Torontonians, there were few other choices.
Obviously, there's the odd thing open. We've just been into Ripley's, which is really good for the young man here, and yeah. So you've got to make the most of what's going on.
It wasn't actually very busy in there, and as you're walking around, they've got multiple stations for like sanitisation.
Yep, Ripley's is keeping its regular hours from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week, even as many other attractions are closing their doors to prevent the spread of the coronavirus.
We've decided to remain open, and partly because the guests want to come.
The province yesterday, though, recommended suspending gatherings of 250 people. As for how many people are allowed in here,
it's beyond that, but we're not in a seating theater situation here. It's a walk-through attraction.
Another place that's not shutting its doors, St. Lawrence Market, which was still quite bustling this afternoon.
Regulars are still coming in.
Well, we should all err at the side of caution, but I'm not going to stop doing all the regular things I do. I love the St. Lawrence Market and I love Toronto. I'm going to go out and do what I like to do.
Vendors say they are taking precautions to make sure staff and customers stay safe.
The business is a little bit quieter. I think people are a little bit withdrawn. They're just dealing with kind of the shock of what's going on, but they're still coming in and supporting the merchants.
The market was also supposed to be open tomorrow for the first Sunday ever, but that has now been canceled. And it's all quiet at libraries and community centers across the city, both closed, leaving those who rely on them looking elsewhere.
It's getting scarier and scarier by the minute, and I'm one who is, on a disability, and one of my things is anxiousness and depression. If I stay at home too long, that would be not the greatest thing.
I needed to use the library, but luckily I saw the news yesterday and I was able to come out and get what I needed to get done. Yeah, it definitely will affect us, but in the long run, not closing it might affect us more.
Emergency services, though, that they will keep operating. This includes police, fire, paramedics, garbage pickup. That will also keep functioning. But it will be a tough week for many parents with a March break in full swing, and with all city-run March break camps next week all canceled. And as I mentioned earlier, all licensed childcare centers, of course, also closed. Magda?
Thank you, Kelda. Well, as Kelda mentioned there, it is the beginning of March break, and what is usually a very busy travel day at Pearson Airport today, it was almost empty. CBC's Lorenda Redekop has more on how the outbreak is affecting travel plans.
The busiest airport in Canada looks like a ghost town right now, but some families are heading out of the country for March break. Most people didn't want to talk on camera about their decision to defy the government's recommendation to stay put during this pandemic. But this father and son feel confident, headed to Cuba, where there are a few confirmed cases of COVID-19.
His mother spent yesterday afternoon trying to talk me out of it. My mom spent a little bit of last night trying to talk me out of it, but we're good. We're not worried about it. He's young and healthy. I'm old and healthy, so.
He says they're prepared to self-isolate when they come home. Another family canceled their trip to Florida and came to the airport to make sure their online cancellation went through.
So now instead of going to the beaches in Siesta Key, we're going to North Bay. So we are going to North Bay with our sundresses and our flip-flops.
This doctor agrees with that decision.
In Canada, we've sort of contained it to travelers mainly, whereas in the US, if somebody didn't get tested, they could pass it to grandma in a nursing home, and then it went crazy. Like in Washington, it was a nursing home.
But for families who aren't leaving the country, there are fewer options this year of what to do. Many tourist attractions are closed. In Toronto, that includes the CN Tower, as well as museums and libraries. Schools will be closed for 2 more weeks after March break as officials try to prevent the spread of the disease. It'll make it even more challenging for parents to keep their kids busy. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
So if you want to stay up to date on our coverage of the coronavirus, CBC and Radio Canada have teamed up with TV distributors to make our 24-hour news channel free. Now, during this whole time, just head to CBC News Network. It's now available to all subscribers on Bell TV, Shaw, and Cogeco. You can also stream it on CBC Gem, cbcnews.ca, the CBC News app, and cbc.ca. So today we are also hearing about potential changes at long-term care homes and churches in response to COVID-19. Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health is recommending that only essential visitors be allowed in at long-term care homes. That means people visiting dying or ill residents or parents and guardians of a sick child or a young person in a residential treatment setting. Now, all visitors will continue to be screened before they're allowed in. And then at Anglican churches across the province, public worship services are temporarily suspended. Services may be available online. So some hospitals in Toronto are reporting a surge of people showing up at emergency rooms afraid they have the coronavirus. Now, doctors are warning people to stay away from ERs unless they're really sick.
At the moment, if you have very mild symptoms of runny nose or a sore throat, and you do not have any risk factors, you have not traveled outside the country in the last 14 days, and you do not have contact with a patient with a known positive COVID-19 test, we are likely in the emergency departments and in the assessment centers not even going to swab you.
Officials are urging people who have reason to be tested to go to the standalone assessment centers set up at 5 hospitals around the GTA and 1 in Ottawa. Now, to find the location that is closest to you, you can head to our website, cbc.ca/Toronto. It's time for our first look at the weather with Christina Leja Vlahos. Well, I didn't see much of the sun today. What about tomorrow?
There's sunshine coming.
Okay,
cooler
good.
temperatures, but we've got some sunshine. Here's our overnight at -3, a little bit of a wind chill, going to feel like -17. But let's take a closer look at what we can expect for this evening. Here comes in that high pressure, keeping us dry and a little bit cool. We are looking at a light system over Windsor. It really is going to be just a little bit of a grazing, some cloud cover here, and a little mix of rain and snow. But like I mentioned, here is your Sunday afternoon. Sunshine, 2 degrees, a little bit cooler temperatures, but you've got that sunshine, so a great day for you to get out there and enjoy some sunshine. Here's our Sunday. That high pressure system is going to be making its way out. Here is that snow for Northern Ontario. For Southern Ontario, we're still going to enjoy a beautiful Monday, but then Monday evening is when we're going to see a little bit of that rain and mix for the Greater Toronto area. Looks like it's just going to be a little bit of scattered showers to start our Tuesday. So if you're going to be commuting Tuesday morning, here is your precip. Mild temperatures at 7. Clear skies for your Wednesday. Precip comes back in on Thursday.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Well, the Canadian coffee chain Second Cup is limiting the way customers pay for coffee and other items due to the COVID-19 outbreak. The company says on its website only debit, credit, gift cards, and mobile payments will be accepted, and that all franchise partners have now been empowered to make individual decisions on any additional precautionary measures. Now, up to including closing their dining rooms and offering counter service only, or the temporary closure of their cafes. Second Cup is also discontinuing the use of all ceramic mugs, dishware, and cutlery. And today, Spain is expected to enact new and drastic measures to fight COVID-19. This as the World Health Organization coined Europe as the coronavirus outbreak's new epicenter. Streets are already quiet, and it may stay that way, as now there is a draft document outlining a plan to order people to stay at home. Work, grocery shopping, and visits to the hospital or drugstore would be the only exceptions. Spain today announced 70 new deaths. Now Austria is making 4 billion euros available to soften the economic blow, scrapping a balanced budget promise. And Britain is reportedly set to ban mass gatherings next week. Well, to the States now, where today Donald Trump met with his coronavirus task force at the White House, one day after declaring a national emergency. The U.S. president has been widely criticized for his handling of the pandemic and about the way he's handling his own possible exposure to the virus. Stephen D'Souza has the latest.
A sign of the new normal at the White House, reporters getting their temperature checked. A new policy for anyone in close contact with the president.
I had my temperature taken coming into the room.
Donald Trump announced today that he has been tested for the coronavirus. Trump has been in contact with at least 3 people who later tested positive, including Brazilian officials at his resort in Florida.
Thank you, Brian.
At a time when health officials are telling the public to practice social distancing and limit contact, Trump defended repeatedly shaking hands.
Shaking hands is not a great thing to be doing right now, I agree. But people put their hand out. Sometimes I'll put the hand out. You don't think about it. People are thinking about it more and more. We have to think about it.
Trump expressed support for the bipartisan bill passed last night. It guarantees up to 2 weeks paid sick leave and up to 3 months paid family or medical leave. But the rules don't apply to large companies with 500 or more employees, despite this assurance from the vice president.
If you're sick, stay home. You're not going to miss a paycheck.
The administration announced new travel restrictions, limiting foreign nationals coming from the UK and Ireland. This comes as cities like New York ban large public gatherings. And panicked shoppers clear store shelves, despite no evidence of shortages.
Panic mode. People are terrified and they're unsure what to do.
With more than 2,200 cases, officials say the U.S. is not yet at the peak of the outbreak.
And the challenge is we still have the opportunity to influence the course of that curve.
Meaning proactive measures could slow the increase of cases, so hospitals don't get overwhelmed.
We are probably at the tip of the iceberg at this point in terms of what we are going to be seeing in emergency rooms over the next few weeks.
With a state of emergency in the U.S. declared Friday, the country now at a key point as Americans brace for what's to come. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
Coming up, live shows are being put on pause, but some venues are finding other ways to let you enjoy the entertainment from a distance. We have that story after the break. Well, we're getting used to hearing about closures and cancellations in the arts and entertainment world because of COVID-19. And increasingly, there are efforts to shift the focus. Arts reporter Yelena Adzik explains how venues and event organizers are trying to get the art out into the public.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the cancellation headlines. For example, we are hearing of Mirvish Productions drawing down the curtain on all their productions until April 12th. That's including the current run of Hamilton. Same goes for the Canadian Opera Company, which is stopping performances for the first week of April. That said, there are a few glimmers of hope when it comes to creative thinking with arts and culture events. In the world of cinema, both AMC and Cineplex theater chains are supporting social distancing by selling only half-capacity seating. Then there's the Hot Docs Festival. When it recently confirmed a postponement of their spring start, organizers said they are exploring other means. Tweeting, "To the filmmakers affected, we love you. We want to ensure your films get the attention and support they deserve. The world needs documentary." So it seems likely that a digital solution would be under consideration. That's exactly what happened with the South by Southwest music event. The film competition aspect is being revived digitally after that festival's cancellation, with jury members viewing submissions via links. Similarly, when the Canadian Folk Music Festival in Charlottetown shuttered, organizers added that they would explore alternative ways to celebrate this year's nominees and award recipients, such as maritime talent Lenny Gallant and Dave Gunning. Naturally, organizers of all events say they continue to monitor the evolving situation closely. But one way or another, art is trying to find a way to still be shown, seen, and heard.
With the morning star appearing, I was missing you. Yeah, I was missing you.
Yelena Adzik, CBC News, Toronto.
We turn to an amazing story. A Canadian woman who was kidnapped in Burkina Faso more than a year ago is now free. Edith Blay was taken hostage with an Italian man in December of 2018. The CBC's David Thurton reports.
Pictures emerged showing the two, Edith Blay and her Italian friend, meeting and greeting UN and Canadian officials. The two are looking healthy after spending months in captivity. In December 2018, the two vanished. It later emerged that they were kidnapped in the West African country of Burkina Faso. Now, the Canadian government urges its citizens not to visit Burkina Faso because of the threat of terrorism. Now, 15 months later, the two escaped from their kidnappers, and with the help of locals, they were driven to a UN camp.
Minister François-Philippe Champagne, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, has been in direct contact with Edith. He spoke with her this morning. He found her well in the circumstances. We have seen some images of her also walking. So considering that she's been detained for 15 months, she's doing well. And she is right now in Mali with Canadian representatives.
Bibo says it's not clear when Blay will return home. The minister suggested that Blay might take some time to recover at a center that is specifically geared to helping detainees reintegrate. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
This is such a difficult time for everyone around the world, so we're hoping that actually by delivering this program, we can bring a smile to their faces.
Coming up, the show must go on, even if it's just virtually. One of the city's largest Iranian arts festivals can't have the crowd come to their show, so they're bringing the show to the crowd. That story coming up after the break. As large events keep getting canceled, some are finding innovative ways to keep the party going. And that is what's happening with Tirgan. The nonprofit that organizes Iranian cultural events canceled its massive New Year's Eve festival this weekend. But instead of completely putting it off, they're finding other ways to bring the entertainment to people at home. Angelina King has more.
Performing in front of an empty crowd, 200 less volunteers, and a large venue with no visitors. That's the reality of celebrating the Iranian New Year amid the COVID-19 outbreak. The opposite of previous years when 15,000 people gathered over 3 days for Tirgan's annual Nowruz festival.
It's mainly because we want to bring Iranians across the world together to promote Iranian arts and culture.
But right now, that can't happen. Last week, Tirgan decided to cancel the event. About half the tickets were already sold to this weekend's 3-day festival that was supposed to celebrate the Persian New Year through arts, culture, food, kids programs, and performances. It's one of the most important celebrations, and organizers say the show will go on, just online.
We're hoping that actually by bringing these programs to them, they can still celebrate Nowruz, even if it's online or digital, but it is something for them to look forward to.
Action. Tirgan is creating a broadcast using the space it already rented, volunteers ready to work, and performers happy to keep doing their job.
So we're still saying the story, we're still performing that, but then we open our eyes and it's like, there's nobody there. So that's the only difference,
The show will feature remarks from dignitaries, storytelling, performances, as much of the event they can capture through video. It'll be online and on Persian TV networks Thursday, which marks the Iranian New Year.
And another reason not to cancel the festival entirely, this year's event is dedicated to the victims of the Iran plane crash, 5 of whom were part of the Tirgan community.
We've had a very tough year. And I think we should keep the spirit high.
While the broadcast will include a program honoring the victims, organizers want people to focus on the future. It's been a difficult start to 2020, but they say the festival is all about new beginnings. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
So spring is supposed to officially start next week, right, Christina? Tell me that the weather is going to match up.
Okay, so tomorrow is going to be beautiful, a little bit cooler temperatures, but we can definitely all get out there and enjoy some sunshine. There's our Sunday, and that actually is going to continue for Monday. Tuesday, though, we've got a little bit of precip. Let's take a closer look at this. Now, here's that high pressure system that's really keeping us cool and dry, though, as it moves out through our Sunday overnight into our pre-dawn Monday. Here comes that low snow accumulation I was telling you about earlier, about 2 to 5 centimeters over northern Ontario. But for southern Ontario, it really just is a rain story. Actually, just scattered showers for the greater Toronto area, maybe a little bit of a mix. Let's take a closer look here for our Monday morning as that high pressure system moves its way out. Here's a little bit of that snow and rain mix. However, we are still going to be dealing with some mild temperatures. Good news is, check out this precip timing. It's going to be making its way out for Tuesday afternoon. Now let's take a look at those temperatures. Kitchener, Burlington, Markham, and Pickering. Again, here's your clear skies for your Sunday, your Monday. Here's that really weak system for your Tuesday, but it will be tapering off by your Tuesday afternoon. Let's take a closer look now at southern Ontario. Here is our Wednesday. The temperatures are going to be taking a little bit of a dip here. Toronto at 0, Oakville at 1. But watch what happens as we look a little bit into our long ranger here. Thursday, Toronto at 6. There's a little bit of that precip, but moving into the weekend, we're looking at cooler temperatures, but some sunshine for Saturday.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The NBA season has been suspended for at least a month, but Toronto Raptors center Serge Ibaka is still getting his workouts in.
For the next 14 days, I can't go out. At the meantime, I have to stay in shape. So I made my little gym here at my place. Like you can see, I got my box here, the bike, the bands, little weight here, like you can see.
All members of the Raptors were tested for COVID-19 after playing the Utah Jazz on Monday. Utah's center Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID-19 during Toronto's victory. The team tested negative. The team says they are following all public health protocols, and in the meantime, Gobert is stepping up by donating more than $500,000 to support part-time employees at the Jazz's home arena were not able to work. He will also donate money to Oklahoma City and his home country, France. Well, that's our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching. You can stay caught up on all the news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. Have a great night.